That's still
Towards 130th?
That's Northwest Indiana, that's still city streets, that's all industrial, that's very.
Industrial, right?
Yeah.
Right? So we're getting a lot of questions, we're getting, so.
You've had your hand raised for like an hour now.
Oh, okay, just going to this. When I chatted with you, you said you didn't want to release something, so you wanted to do those two lines.
Yeah.
And you want to build both of them at the same time, so you want to build both these new intersections.
We would do it build one.
Okay, great. So why would you do them staggered to kind of impact it and build one? Then use one of them remaining. You have a new one or a remaining one. You still have two lines running, and then build one on the other side. So you take less room, you can do this slightly less than a full one. It still maintains. It makes the community less old, and it's less of a.
So you're referring to the track shift east concept essentially? In order to, a couple things are driving the shift to the west. One is that the bridge is wider because it needs to be for structural purposes, meet modern standards. The other issues that tracks have to be safe further ahead to meet safety standards. They're currently later than what's even kind of minimum duty facility standards. So that's requiring them to shift further. The new bridge, they are being built one track at a time. So there will be one track that's being built to the westernmost, and they have to make space for the new bridge between that and another operating track. So both those bridges have to be able to fit in the space where you can still keep the southbound track furthest in. So the bridges are kind of set that way. So you have that, during that stage of construction, you have that southbound train on the easternmost track, right? And then the staging is that how close can you keep the other two tracks so that you can build them without impacting that easternmost track. And that's how it's been set up. So it seems like a large shift, but that's what's required to fit the traffic envelope with the new modern bridge standards and the existing as bridge on both sides to continue to function. So I do understand what you're saying, and I think even if we looked at, instead of moving both of them to the east, trying to do one and then do the other, you still have to be able to fit all of the girders for those. You end up with, instead of in that phase, we have. This is where I'd love to just talk to you because I don't think everybody wants to hear all of the details.
We do. Yes, we do.
That's what you're watching. So I also can't throw you on the board because we're behind. Here, but board X. This one, two. Oh, here we go. No, this one. Perfect. Yeah. So here we go. So currently there are two tracks that operate. There's a third bay that used to operate to the west. Again, why the tracks are shifting to the west because there's more space to the west.
Except let's
Give them an opportunity.
I'm gonna interject here
Give
because
them an opportunity.
if you get south of Brightwood, that is not correct. It is not all on the west side. It flip-flops. So you do not have just a bay on the west side for the entire north-south line. That is not correct.
So south of Brightwood, we actually still do have that third bay. We also have some extra tracks that used to be track leads on the eastern side, but there's always been that third bay. In fact, across the river, that track has already been replaced. We are currently operating on the two westernmost bays. So it currently shifts over to go to the operating track. So let me finish explaining this because I know you have a very good question. So this current track that's not being operated on, that would be removed as one of the first phases of the project that was shown here. The retaining wall would then be constructed from the right of way along near the western boundary of the right of way. That would make space for this new northbound bridge. Which would be again on Union Pacific right of way. It's structured so that you can keep these two tracks operating during the installation of this bridge. In the next phase, this middle track would be removed. That's the current northbound track in order to construct this new northbound track. We still need to operate the southbound track over here, so you need that girder as well as that girder to support this track as well as the new bridge. And in the final configuration, there will be two bridges as there are two tracks as there are today, just shifted to the west. So in the alternative that you talked about, where instead of moving both these tracks over, you take this track out of service first and build another bridge over here. The challenge with that is that you end up with the girders to support these tracks as well as the 4 girders to support the tracks. Currently, they only in this design can be 3, so that just increases the width of the overall right of way necessary for the project. It would also mean that we'd have to construct retaining walls on the east side, which would have similar concerns that west side neighbors have, or east side neighbors.
It's a road though.
So there is a road north of Wellington, but south of Wellington there are adjacent neighbors as well as a park. There's also a park in Addison, which we've already mentioned tonight. Any impact, we're trying to avoid impacts to parks. I understand parks are very important, but actually,
But homes
So-
are okay. Over 150 homes are okay.
so we have homes to the east as well.
Not 150 homes.
There are-
Not landlocked.
Yeah, not 150 homes.
So again, north of Wellington, it's a different story. South of Wellington, the homes are actually closer to the right of way than they are on the west side. There are tall, high-rise, they're not high-rise, but mid-rise apartment buildings, condos. There are lots of properties on the east side, so it's not, I don't want to go east versus west. We're really just talking about there's more space to the west.
But you are going east.
So
I mean, that's what your deputy commissioner has already said, and that's what Michael Gillis has already said. You are going east.
no, I did
mean,
not say that.
Yeah, that is exactly what you told WBBM News. You know, that what you could do is basically create space on the east side
Not
for
not-
an express track when the money becomes
not create
available.
space.
Well, that's
Retain-
exactly, I'm
retain
quoting
space.
you. I'm
No,
quoting
I
you
didn't
right
say
now.
that.
You know,
I didn't say that.
but that's your quote.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, but then you should probably
It's
take
not
that up
my
with
quote.
WBBM News.
No.
That's your quote.
You can show it to me. I didn't say that.
That's your
And
quote.
it's not true, we're not planning to add a 3rd track
Okay,
on that
but-
side, but we are retaining space for one in case in the future we decide to do that.
So you are doing exactly what I said, you are just changing the language of it. Yeah.
Today you're not doing it, but tomorrow you might.
Yeah,
So
as the
if-
funds become available.
To be clear, if there was ever to be a 3rd track, we'll go through a much more detailed environmental review process than even this is. So we are not planning a 3rd track. There is no change in operating in frequency.
But this
speed
should
of
go to a
service.
higher environmental standard than us.
People are living there and you're creating space.
So
Yeah.
there's currently space for 3 tracks. There used to be 3 tracks. There are bridges to support 3 tracks today. We're only operating on 2 tracks today. As part of many questions that we've received on the previous project and this project, people want to make sure that we are preserving space for a 3rd track. There's not a plan for that, but we did respond to that question because we received it. So we received a question of, are you preserving space for a 3rd track as they're used to operate? And our response is, we are not precluding in the future a future 3rd track. But
So
we're not
wait,
planning.
in 2011, you received that question and that was your answer to it? with
No, we
WBBM?
get asked that question all the time, but the fact is there's room for a 3rd track up there right now.
So on the east side, there's room for it. So
No,
then why do you have
there's
to come
not.
west?
There's not on the east side.
Can you let other people talk?
I'm just curious.
There's room on the west side now, and when we're done, that room will be switched to the east side, but that space isn't available now.
Does anyone have a question that hasn't asked a question yet?
Do you have, are you in full oh, sorry, I was just gonna ask, what is Metra's plan to financially compensate those of us who are affected when you're coming onto our property?
And for how long? Because again,
Are you
talking about the construction easement, or
Yeah, I don't know the terminology. That's
no.
That's my
That was a question we addressed earlier. That's something that would be negotiated on a case-by-case basis with each individual property owner as the design progresses. So as a result of this meeting, some concepts may change, and we may not need construction easement that we're thinking about right now, and that might change depending on the location. So over the next 12 months, as we get through into the next phase, that would be something we would negotiate or talk to individual homeowners about if that's needed.
And I think there's a difference between a physical easement versus the effect of the change in the plans. The spec easement, which has an adverse effect on the property owners, so environmental issues, the sunlight, the trees, the water, the sound wall, all these elements. So I think that's a big consideration versus that's why we're sensitive.
Sure, and that's an issue that I think Kate addressed earlier about a topic that we don't have the authorization to talk about, especially at this meeting. We can talk about construction related
Or design, or just design to, bypass litigation to design in a way that just mitigate these issues that, no one wants. And sun, trees, the sound is important to vehicles on the water, but, designing that in front of us.
Right.
More adversarial.
Yeah, two sides to this. The initial question was about compensation. That's something that we, as a level, cannot discuss.
Yeah.
In terms of the design-related impact or changes that you would
Yeah.
like, that's a part of this process. Again, please send those along through the project email. There's three different ways you can reach us on the back of that handout. We've already talked about how you can express your concerns to the FDA. That is honestly the best approach that we have right now.
And just
And
one
then
more.
folks, just so you all are aware, we have approximately 10 minutes left, okay?
So this right now with the tracks and not looking at other options of rolling them in or building or whatever, is that mainly to keep Metra running on time?
The project goals are to replace the bridges, of course, the security, and to maintain a level of service that would be acceptable to Metra and the right.
What's your on-time service level right now?
I don't have that data to share with you at this point, but I can tell you that
On-time performance, you mean?
Yeah. Like, are there a lot of people that tweet about huge delays on Metra?
No, because no
On the
one's going
UPN,
to
it's
go.
about 97-98% currently. On the UPN specifically, which doesn't have the freight interference problem that we have on the airlines.
I apologize, what are the plans to, when the retaining walls against the Monterey property, what is the act, is that gonna be the traps? Like, so, and we've had like a few months past, and it's on the top of the office. So you're not able to like this down on our property, put it on the walls, you're doing it.
Right, so your issue is a common one that we're trying to address in this project. These walls are 100 years old. They need to be replaced because they have failures. Right, so we would do all the work from the railroad side. Right, but in the event where you have debris on your yard, that's where that construction easement might come into play, because we might need some contractors to go and clear off any of that debris, and then they would continue their work on the railroad side. You've had your hand up a few times.
Yeah, and I apologize, this may have been addressed a little bit, but if and when will the sound, like the acoustic and vibration studies be made available for public review?
So I think that the general response that we've had here during this meeting is that as soon as the FCA says that we can publish this document, that will be made available on the project website.
Okay.
I mean, I don't recall, what was the timeframe we were hoping that they would
I
have?
mean, we're hoping this year, I mean, as soon as we're authorized to do that, we will do so. And I know some of you intend to reach out and ask if you can see it in draft form.
It
I guess we're
can be
curious.
amended after we receive it.
Will it be draft or final?
So essentially,
So we've been communicating with FTA on this specific topic. We don't have an answer yet. We will try to get you an
And
answer.
FTA allows you to just do one house, so we have 30 houses, and you guys did one house that's overgrown in the middle of the summer, when we have 4 or 5 different style homes, so we're different than the people to our north, to the, even the other.
So we don't actually study individual homes. We study the exterior environment, which is a more conservative approach because the
You guys, in
exterior
our
is
group,
not.
you picked the jungle of the group, it was completely overgrown in the middle of the summer, and I know you might think that that doesn't matter, but it does, because when you have no trees, no vines, nothing there, and again, like we talked about earlier, in our specific party, we have some houses that you walk out right, that's your main floor of living, right there is ground floor. Some of us have raised homes, so it is gonna matter, because now the train's gonna be outside my daughter's bedroom and outside my kitchen, but some people that have the same house as me, it's gonna be outside their living room. So it does matter, rather than sticking a machine in one person's backyard and say, oh, this is a great fit for everybody. There,
So it's not one person's backyard. We did studies across the entire corridor, and then we developed a model that
I'm
generates.
saying just in Bacardi,
I
there's
understand
30
in
houses, and
Bacardi
we did
Place.
one house, and I know which house it was.
all right, folks, we got about 4 minutes. If anyone else has
You said
something.
10 till.
Yeah.
But 14
Can we have,
We
can
would-
we
I
have
think it
another
would
public
make-
forum on the book?
I think
This
it
is just
would
for the forum part.
make sense to allow people to get back to some of the public materials, so I think we are happy to take questions, but I do not want to, shortchange the materials that we have provided, go through them, and getting your feedback, because we have those community engagement boards, we really do want to get your feedback about what type of design elements you're looking for, what your concerns are, because that's the only way that we can continue to address the design in a way that's going to be mindful.
So if all of us in this room said we don't want a wall, we want you to shift to the east, and that is our comment, you're gonna do that?
So we want to.
So then maybe you shouldn't make it feel like our comments matter, this is kind of a PR stunt.
So I understand that there are concerns about the way of traffic. We want to hear those so that we can minimize the kind of impact it is, where it is any.